Welcome to KUMB TV, and today I'm delighted to be joined once again by Mr. Tony Carr, the former youth team manager and Academy Director of West Ham United FC, and of course, a bona fide club legend. Tony joins us today just a few days after receiving an honorary doctorate of science from the University of East London, which I understand was most unexpected. How are you doing, Tony? Good to see you again anyway.
Yeah, good to see you, Graham. Yeah, I'm well. I'm surviving.
You look good. You look good. It's good to see you. I think it's almost a year to the day since we last spoke, which is a little bit. I suppose our conversations are getting a little bit more frequent. It was about 10 years before that we last spoke, but good to see you, buddy. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I mentioned there the honorary doctorate you received at the UEL. How did that come about? Was it a complete surprise? Did you know what was going to happen? What was the score?
No, it was absolutely out of the blue. I just had an email from the head of the UEL, East London University of East London, asking me. I've been nominated, or not nominated, but I've been given an honorary doctorate. Would I accept it? Basically. Okay. So I said, yeah, I'm happy to and pleased to. Yeah. And it was completely out of the blue. I don't know how these things work. I don't know whether it's honorary, whether it's by someone nominating you or I don't know. I really don't know.
So how much notice did they give you? What, was it like, we want you in tomorrow, or we're going to do this next month?
I accepted, within the next day, almost immediately I accepted. Okay. And within about 2 to 3 weeks, the ceremony took place.
So you did have a little bit of time to prepare a speech. It wasn't like they thrust you on stage, the next day.
Yeah, they told me what I had, how it would be performed and what the procedures were. So I went there knowing basically then they would do a citation in terms of my career basically, and a boy from East London done good, so to speak, and. I then had to make an acceptance speech, but they said to me, try not to talk about yourself too much, talk about inspiring the students that, you as a boy brought up in the East End with no real formal qualifications, leaving school at 15, achieve what you've achieved, and you're standing on this stage receiving an honorary doctorate. So I tried to sort of frame my speech around, that sort of thing. Okay. About
there was a really nice
youngsters.
Yeah, there was a lovely line in there, Tony, that you spoke about how learning is a lifetime's journey, and your advice to any kids was to make sure you choose something you love, and remember that we all have to be part of a team, and it's all about character, attitude, and a work ethic. I mean, is that sort of been your mantra over the years, sort of how you've operated yourself?
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. I drew on all those things. What drove me on? What motivated me, etc., etc. And how did I stay in one role, or not one role, but one club for so long? Yeah. In professional football, which is quite unusual in this day and age. But and I drew on all those things, and it was about that, having the right character, being able to be part of a team, a good work ethic, and etc. etc. And listen and learn basically was me. I was always asking questions. I would always ask John Lyle, Ron Greenwood questions, and that sort of formed my opinions about things and formed my knowledge base, and I sort of drew on all those things, and that set me in good stead really. And I think choosing a career that you love, you may not always achieve your dreams, but you've got to try to go for something that you really love, you want to be involved in. Yeah, and you'll get there some way or other.
Yeah, persistence and hard work, I guess, being the
You've put it better than I have. Yeah,
short and sweet. Of course, you had to wear the obligatory. What do they call that? The hat? Is there a?
Yeah, I'm not sure the name of it, but it was like what's the word they used? It was like not a bishop's hat. It was like someone like a. I can't remember the name, but it's like a flattened type cap. Yeah. Rather than the mortarboard. Yeah. And it was quite a lavish gown. They gave me a nice picture afterwards, and I look quite fancy and dandy. My grandson weren't too impressed because he said, my grandson weren't too impressed. Granddaddy said, "How'd you get that qualification and you got a doctorate. He said, and you didn't even do any studying.
Just the last 50 years. That's all. I mean, it's a lovely picture. I'll make sure that we impose it over the top of this conversation when we put the interview out. Anyway, but you certainly look happy in it. I mean, you're beaming in it, and it's a lovely recognition, I think, for all the hard work you've done at the club, and us as fans, we've said it time and time before. You know how grateful we are for everything you've done for the club over the years. But it's nice to see you get some kind of official recognition, I think. Yeah,
I mean, that, and it was quite poignant coming from the University of East London, basically working in East London with the West Ham Football Club and being brought up in Bow, East London, and playing for East London boys, etc., etc. Yeah. So, and when I stood up to do my speech, and I'm quite used to stand up in front of people, in team meetings and on presentations with various FA, Premier League, I was quite, I got quite emotional.
Yeah,
I got quite caught up in the moment.
Did you have to take a breather at one point? You had a little lump in your throat
just
and all
for
that.
A second. I just had to. I said, "Excuse me, I'm just getting a little bit emotional," and that sort of, in effect, it wasn't deliberate, but that sort of drew the crowd a little bit because they appreciated that, and there was an
Yeah, I saw the human side of it all, I guess. That's.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for, but it was from the heart. It was that was how I felt, and I think that was appreciated.
Yeah, I think it certainly is, as I say, by the fans and everyone else involved with the club. But I mean, looking back on your career, we've talked about your career time and time before, and those interviews are already on the site. If people want to see those, I'll put some links to them. But you must be intensely proud of what you've done. I mean, we've often spoke about how much money you've raised for the club. Of course, it's not all about money; it's about people. But the money certainly helped, and you must look back and think, I didn't do a bad job overall, really, when you think about it.
No, I think so. I think I can look back with pride, and certainly, with the MBE in 2010, and then this doctorate from the University of East London. I feel immensely proud that I was a lad in East London that left school at 15, joined West Ham, and with no real formal qualifications. Although I was in the sort of brightest group, the top group in the school all the way through, but football took over and you tend to ignore your educational needs. But so I'm certainly proud that I've achieved something in my life and I can look back with some pride.
Yeah, you certainly have, and you certainly can. But you weren't, I mean, we spoke about this just before we came on there. I mean, just talking about Tony Scott. We've lost a couple of players recently. Tony was one. I know you didn't play with him at the club, but John Lyle, who you mentioned, was a teammate of his at the time. But also Jimmy Greaves, and let's be honest, we didn't see the best of him at West Ham, did we? I mean, he certainly made a fantastic debut. Scored a couple of goals on that bog of a pitch at Main Road. Who was it who scored? Was it Ronnie Boyce who scored that goal? He put it over Corrigan's head. Yeah,
Joe Corrigan kicked it out and
straight back from Boyce.
Of course, he volleyed it straight back in, and it was.
I think Corrigan was still walking back to his goal, wasn't he? And he saw the ball.
He sort of kicked the ball from sort of towards the corner of the box and was like walking back in, and Boyce, great technician that he was, volleyed it straight back in. And Greaves, he got 2 on his debut, which is fantastic. And we thought, we got a real goal scorer here, which we had. But we obviously didn't get best of Jimmy, but it was great that he ended up playing for West Ham, and I ended up training on the same pitches as him and working in the same groups with him. And he's a lot older than me, but certainly I can look back upon that and go, at least I shared a pitch with Jimmy Greaves.
Was he as? I mean, the figures speak for themselves, but you saw him play. You worked with him in training. How good was he? And does there anyone who really compares these days to just how good a player he was?
I think you can look back at Jimmy's record, and I think he scored in every debut he played for with every club.
Yeah.
Record goal scorer basically wherever he went. The 66 World Cup thing was so unlucky for Jimmy, but great for Jeff, of course. Mm-hmm. But so unlucky for Jim, and I think he was quite resentful for that. Over that for many years.
It seemed that way.
Yeah, and but you look back and you say, what a great player. I mean, what a great goal scorer. And weren't many to compare, really, at that time.
Yeah.
He used to tell me a story, Peter Braybrook, because they both played for Chelsea.
Yeah.
And Peter lived in Beckton and Jimmy lived in Dagenham when they were kids, youngsters, 16, 17. And they used to meet up and go to Stamford Bridge to go on the train, on the district line to Stamford Bridge, and or Fulham Broadway as it is. But before they did that, they used to go into pie mash shop and have pie mash. Before, pre-match, that was their pre-match lunch, was pie mash. And Jimmy and Peter always said, Jimmy had double pie mash, I had double pie mash. He said, but we get to the bridge. He said, Jimmy would always score.
Yeah.
So it didn't make any difference to Jimmy. He said, still score.
Yeah.
So
he was just one of those.
It was,
Yeah, I mean, we all know that he had his issues later on in his career with the drink as well, but it didn't seem to affect him on the pitch. As you say, he scored on his debut for every team, and even at West Ham, he was still banging in goals. And of course, there's the famous story at West Ham where Jimmy and Bobby Moore and Brian Deere and was it Clive Best as well? I think the four of them got particularly told off, didn't they, by Ron Greenwood after one night at Brian London's club, I think it was at Blackpool the night before
Blackpool,
the FA Cup tie. Was that a lot of people sort of say that was the end of Jimmy at West Ham, and of course we know that Ron wanted to sack Bobby Moore as well at the time, which seems amazing in this day and age. But do you have any recollection of that incident, of what was going on at the club at the time?
I had no inside knowledge of that, of what was going on. Yeah. And for that incident alone, all I know is all the players always ever said there was no way we was ever going to play the game. It was like frozen pitch. Yeah. He said it was like the temperature was going to drop overnight. He said it was just a matter of that. The game was, we were never going to play the game. That was in their thoughts. They were told, no, you never play the game. The pitch ain't fit. So I'm not using it as an excuse for them. Yeah. But it was one of the mitigating circumstances, shall I say. But obviously, we know the history. The game, they went, play it. And we got thumped. And those guys, live with that for the rest of the time. And still now we talk about it. Yeah. And I think even Rob Jenkins, the physio, I think went out with them, to just going for a couple of hours, going for a night out. Yeah. And obviously they all paid the penalty for that. I think when you were out the other night, I've got no more inside knowledge than that, really. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting to hear that, because I don't think that's widely known that the players thought the game was going to be called off. You see all the stories about how they were out on the lash and before the game, but you don't often hear that. Yeah, didn't you meet up with Rob the other night? It was a goalkeepers convention or something you were at? Yeah, we went to the goalkeepers tribute night at the Hilton at London Bridge. Yeah, which they often have. Len Herbert arranges them, and Alvin Martin was the compere. Yeah, it's normally Tony Gale, but for some reason Tony couldn't be there. And it was a good night. It was great to see Tom McAllister. I hadn't seen Tom McAllister over 30 years. Wow! So it was great to see Tom, and I hadn't seen him for since the day he left West Ham, really. Yeah. And so it was great to see him. And Neil Finn, I hadn't seen since he left the club, and some Paul Marsh, who was a young, good youth goalkeeper. Yeah. And Alan Dickey, Peter Shearing. Yeah. And it was great to sort of see them again. I mean, Neil would have been one of your charges, wouldn't he? Neil Finn. I mean, he played. Yeah. Was it Man City you played at that day? Man City away. Yeah. If you remember that. It was such a late call that they had to tape his name on the back of his shirt with not with sellotape, with adhesive tape. Yeah. And during the game, it was coming off, peeling off. Lucky it was only 4 letters, I suppose. It could have been worse. Yeah, that's right. A bit quicker. But I mean, Tom McAllister, actually, I got his autograph once. I remember coming home from an away game, and we followed the West Ham team bus all the way back to Upton Park, and everyone else got all the bigger names, and I got, it's no slight on Tom, but I got Tom's autograph. But probably quite a rare thing. I don't suppose many people, out of the players that were playing at the time would have gone for Tom first. But anyway, that was one for the scrapbook. But you mentioned Peter, of course, Peter Braybrook, and Peter, came to West Ham as a player, as you say, made his name at Chelsea. But of course, he worked with you for years and years, didn't he? At the academy. Yeah, he was a great assistant to me. Really good assistant. He would say it as he saw it. He had a good eye for players, Peter. Mm-hmm. He had a good eye. He'd look at something, he ain't bad, him, and I'd go, and I thought, I might have to have a second look, and I go, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he had a good eye, Peter, for players, and And you know, we worked well together. We bounced things off each other really, really well.
Yeah.
And obviously, he was retired. He was forcibly retired by the board.
Yeah.
Which he didn't really want to, and then went part-time as a scout for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which I fought for. I have to say.
Yeah.
Peter didn't believe it at the time. That, you know, he thought I was behind it. That I had nothing to do with it. The board wanted to make that change, and I had no option.
Yeah.
But I fought long and hard to keep him on board as a part-timer and do some scouting, which he did for Harry and did for some youth players. Did very, very well at that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you certainly, between you know, got a number of amazing players come through over the years. I mean, talking about the academy,
Peter played his part in that.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
The academy's changed a lot, hasn't it? I think. I mean, you left. When was it? 2016. You left. Was it 5 years ago now? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
16, 5. Unbelievable how quickly it's gone.
How time flies. But I mean, the academy seems to. I know we're still bringing through a lot of youth players, but there seems to be a sort of sea change in the sense that the club now seem a little bit more prepared to go out and bring youth players. I mean, the perfect example, I guess, would be Declan Rice. You know, they'll go out and buy a lot of players from other clubs at the age of 14 or 15. What's your view on that? Do you think that works? I mean, I know you had a couple under you. You had Stephen Bywater, of course, didn't you? Who came in from Rochdale at 15, 16, and Jermaine Defoe. Yeah,
but with Declan, we didn't buy him because I was the academy manager when he came over.
Yeah,
Chelsea released him.
Yeah, sorry,
so
of course.
He didn't have a club, so
yeah.
Basically, Dave Hunt, our chief scout, said they're releasing a couple of players. I said, bring them in. As soon as they brought them in, and I saw the young players, one was Tom Colton, one was Declan Rice, and we ended up. I like both of them. I thought Declan had something that looked a bit different, but we signed both of them, and so it was under my watch that we signed Declan. To be honest.
And Tony, was he a centre half at the time? Was he playing?
No, he was a central midfield player. We moved him in the youth program back to centre half because he grew one pre-season about 3 or 4 inches. He came back and all of a sudden he's got this tall, lean young lad that could play, a good eye for reading the game. Yeah. So we started to play him at the back, and he excelled, and it developed him further as a young player. But he did make his debut as a midfield player,
right?
But then did play in the first team at centre back. But no, it's a good policy if you're making the right choices. I mean, we did sign one or two others that didn't do very well at all.
Yeah,
and I think we signed from Peterborough. His name escapes me at the moment.
Not the other Everton, was it?
No, it wasn't the other Everington. What was his name? He was a striker and scored a lot of goals for Peterborough. And he was only about 18, and we signed him thinking that we could develop him further.
Yeah, and
it just didn't happen. We ended up in the end releasing him. So that we've got our fingers burnt with that one. So you don't get them all right.
Yeah, and I suppose it's impossible.
Doing that now. I mean, I saw the game the other night, and Ben Johnson.
Yeah,
I mean, Ben's been with us since he's about 9 or 10. I can remember Ben playing for our under 12s or under 13s.
Yeah,
and he's come on leaps and bounds. He's done terrific, and although he's not a number one choice, whenever he goes in, I think he does okay. He never makes glaring mistakes.
Yeah,
he doesn't look completely out of his depth. He's holding his own. He's doing very, very well.
Yeah, I think
Old Trafford, it's great.
Yeah, I felt a bit sorry for him actually the other night because there were so many fantastic performances, and I think Ben's performance got overlooked a little bit. Now, who was it? Someone, one of our former players, I can't think who it was now, but said on Twitter that Ben was absolutely, might have been Anton actually, might have been Anton Ferdinand, but said he'd done brilliant. But yeah, there were so many. I mean, you had a couple of debutants as well. And Craig Dawson obviously was exceptional at the back, but he was fantastic. It's nice to see a player like that get the opportunity because we've lost a couple lately, haven't we? Like Grady Diangana, gone to West Brom, hasn't really, pulled up any trees, to use a phrase I'm sure you'll have heard once or twice before from Harry. But it's nice to see one of the West Ham boys do. But I mean, just going back to Declan for a moment, Tony. Obviously, you saw a certain amount of talent when you brought him in from Chelsea. Did you ever think that he would be as good as good as he is now? And I mean, to play in a a major international final at the age of 22.
I could never have predicted that. I don't think anybody could.
Yeah.
I think when we signed him at 13, 14, whatever age it was, I could never have predicted. I thought the traits that I liked about him were basically now the traits that make him what he is. Quick learner, looks you in the eye, really enjoyed training, and worked at his game, and a great personality, very humble, great personality. And those are the traits that have set him in good stead. And he's every year, every season, he's got better. Every season he gets that a little bit better. He adds a little bit more to his game.
Yeah.
Getting into the England squad and getting in the World Cup squad. And you could never have predicted that. You hope that's going to happen with every player that you take on and sign, but it's very hard to predict. It's like a process.
Okay.
Each year, if they can keep adding on, and you think, oh, this kid's got a chance, and then you throw him in the deep end, like Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
I could never have predicted Ben Johnson had played the 50 games for West Ham or whatever he's played so far.
Yeah.
But you just, every year he stays there, he gets better, and he gets better. You think, well, put him in then. Yeah. And this opportunity is the key. Like you said, a lot of the youngsters have been given the opportunity. And if you give them the opportunity, they might surprise you.
Yeah. The last person I heard you talk like that about and say had those kind of traits was Frank Lampard. And I know you used to say about how Frank used to stay behind after everyone else at training and just worked. Might not have been the most gifted player as a kid, but got where he was from graft. And this kind of goes back to what we're saying at the top of the interview, right? When you were talking about the traits you need to succeed. Do you see any sort of similarities?
I think there are. I think there are some similarities in their personalities in terms of going about their business in a quiet way. And as you said with Frank, every year got better and better. Yeah. And got in the first team. And I know there was some criticism from the fans when he was playing, but just look at his record playing for West Ham. It's very good for an 18, 19-year-old player. Mm-hmm. Goals he scored against appearances, terrific. Yeah. But then he's gone to Chelsea and he's gone on another level and another level again. And it's no secret that he's the leading all-time goal scorer for Chelsea as a midfield player. Yeah, beating Bobby Tamblyn. Yeah, and so a lot of similarities. Whether Declan goes on now to another club at some point and goes again and improves again, we don't know. We hope he stays with the Hammers, but I don't know.
This isn't a loaded question, but does he need to leave West Ham to become the complete player, or can he become that player at under David Moyes where he is? And if he does, why? What's the difference?
Yeah. There'd be two reasons why he may want to move. Now, I don't know. This is purely conjecture. Yeah. One, more money. And two, playing in the Champions League. And challenging for the first 2 or 3 spots every year. Yeah. Now I'm only talking Man City, Chelsea, Man United. I wouldn't say Arsenal at the moment, but those three really. And unless one of those three come in, I don't see the point of him going anywhere. Yeah. Because he can achieve, hopefully, a very good contract at West Ham. I'm sure he's on a very good contract. And it's horrible to talk about money, but it is a factor. Yeah. And we're in Europe, and who knows how long that'll last. And we've started the season off very well. Yeah. So, yes, he can achieve his ambitions playing at West Ham. Yeah. And long may that last in terms of he stays there. But, the game, has a way, if a player wants to go and the money's right in terms of the transfer fee, it does tend to happen. But to be fair to Declan, I've not seen any quotes from Declan saying that he wants to go or, West Ham have stopped him from going or anything like that. No negative publicity. He's just got on with his job. It hasn't happened. If it does happen, I'll cross that bridge when it comes. That's the attitude I seem to I take from it. Yeah. And he just gets on with his game. I've seen a couple of games this year, and you wouldn't have said that he's playing with disappointment, he's still playing and giving his all for the team.
Yeah.
So I think he can achieve his ambitions with West Ham. He's in the England team. What more could you want?
Well, exactly. Play. I mean, I guess the thing is, from our perspective as West Ham supporters, is that you've just got to enjoy him while he's there, right? And
yeah, exactly.
You said it. They're performing fantastic at the moment, which actually brings me nicely on to what I wanted to come on to, because, as I said before, the difference in the team between now and when we spoke a year ago is incredible. We were fighting, or just finished fighting, relegation. I think we'd just lost the first 3 or 4 games of the season, hadn't we? And we were kind of a bit worried about facing another relegation battle.
Again,
it just goes to show how much I guess that about what's going to happen, but not you personally, but us, the fans. But let's talk a bit quickly about David Moyes. I mean, I don't know if you know David at all, but he's done an absolutely incredible job at the club, hasn't he? I mean, he's come in for a second spell, completely turned it around, brought in the right players. Fantastic record in the transfer market as well. Nearly every player he's brought in has been a success. What's the key to his success there? Why is he doing so well at the moment, do you think?
I've met him a couple of times. Stuart Pearce introduced me to him. He seems a really nice guy. I went down to the training. This is just pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been back since, because you can't get in the training ground because of COVID regulations.
Right.
And, he said to me, anytime you want to come down, just watch a bit of training, have a cup of tea, have a bit of lunch. He said, come down, not a problem. He's a really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
And Stuart Pearce has rung me since and asked me the same. But I think what it is, he's a real football person.
Right.
I think he's a real football person. And I don't know this for fact, but I think he's having a greater say in the players that we're bringing in.
Okay.
I might be wrong in saying that, but that's the perception that I get.
I think everyone sees it that way, Tony, to be fair. I mean, Sam Allardyce said before, didn't he, about he'd turn up on the training ground occasionally and there'd be a player he's never seen before, like a present from the chairman. But you do get the feeling that David Moyes is in there and he's got complete control of every player that comes in. And it's showing, right? It's, the quality of the players we've brought in. It's, as I said, they've all been successful so far.
Definitely. I remember our conversation a year ago when I looked at us. I said, until we stop conceding goals, we're always going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And on our field, we needed 3 defenders. And since that time, we've brought in Coufal, we've brought in Diop, and then we brought in not Diop,
Zuma.
God, Zuma.
Yeah.
Zuma. So I said we needed 3 defenders, and I think we might have brought in 3 defenders, and then Dawson came in.
Yes.
So we've brought in 3 defenders to go alongside Agbona, Creswell. So we've got a little bit of depth there in the defence. And we don't concede the goals we did. Going to Old Trafford on a Wednesday night and keeping a clean sheet, no matter what teams we put out, it's a good omen. And we're not conceding as many goals. We do concede the odd silly one now and again, like most teams. But no, we seem to be solid defensively as a team, not just the back 4, but as a team. Everyone's working hard. Everybody knows their role. And I think all we're lacking at the moment, if we're lacking anything, if you would say, is we need a little bit of support up there for Antonio.
Yeah.
We needed another striker, really. And maybe that'll come in January with a bit of luck.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, tactically, you're a man who's obviously spent a lot of time. And, I remember you said before that you used to go to lots of conferences and stuff about tactics, different systems coming in. What do you make of the way Moyes has got the team set out at the moment? I mean, very, very strong on the counter-attack as well. Very quick, full of pace and energy.
Yes. I think the key is, for me, looking at it, because he sometimes it looks like 4-3-3. Other times he plays a back 3 with or a back 5 even with, defensively a back 5, but a back 3 when we're attacking and the fullbacks push on high.
Yeah.
But everybody knows their role in the team. And I think that's the key for me. Everybody knows what's expected of them in terms of when we get the ball, when we lose the ball, get back in shape very quickly. And you see us now, when we lose possession, everybody's working back to get goal side of the ball and, get back into their defensive shape. And, as you say, we do look better at times when we're breaking. And because we've got a little bit of pace with Antonio up there, strength and pace with Antonio up front, and he can cause all sorts of problems to teams.
Yeah.
And we've got some creative players going forward now, Benrahma and others around him have done really, really well. So, yeah, I just think we're harder to beat. I think we're harder to score against, and we're harder to beat, and we're always likely to get a goal. I'm quite impressed.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can fail to be at the moment. I mean, it's nice to see West Ham talked about as a threat to anybody at the moment. And it's also nice to go to games and not be worried, like Wednesday, for example. But, we spoke about the youngsters emerging in the team. We spoke about Declan Rice, but, also key to this current squad. I mean, you mentioned Michail there, 31 years old, playing the best football of his life. And Craig Dawson as well is a player who, I think he came in a couple of weeks after we spoke. But, I think it's fair to say that most supporters saw that deal and thought, it's just a stopgap. But both of those players have been absolutely instrumental in everything West Ham have done in the last year. Been fantastic. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either of those players. They both arrived, obviously when I wasn't there, but they both seem to me, especially Dawson, seems to be the ultimate professional who gives everything he's got in every game, competes for every ball, and has grown in stature and, for me, in confidence, coming to West Ham and being put in the team and being a regular team member. Obviously, now Zuma's come in, he might be a bit more in and out.
Right.
But I think the year he had last year, I think he was terrific. I think, and I think because he's a good professional, it looks to me a good pro.
Yeah.
Does it right, trains right, works right, looks fit. Don't look as if he's carrying any weight. And Antonio, for me, it's taken him time because he's obviously his background was non-league, and then I'm not sure where he went, or where he came from to go to Forest, and then obviously came to West Ham. He was a little bit raw, shall we say? Had great pace and strength, but was very raw.
When he come to the club, he's played at full back, at wing back. He's played on the wing, and Moyes seems to have found him this position, and he's absolutely excelling in it, isn't he? And it's quite rare, isn't it, to see someone hit their 30s and then find a new position and suddenly. I mean, when we're talking about the Premier League's most informed striker, essentially as well, it's incredible.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think obviously he's there by default in some respects, but that sometimes happens. You put a player somewhere and go, hold on, he ain't bad at this. He's causing the opposition all sorts of problems. I don't think right back was his position, if I'm honest.
Fair to say.
But I think anywhere in those attacking areas, I think he's a threat.
Yeah.
You put him one-on-one facing goal, he's a threat. If you sort of put him, if the team are pushing high and we play balls in behind, he's every chance he'll be first to the ball.
Yeah.
So he's a real threat up there. So, and as you say, he's one of the informed strikers in the Premier League.
Yeah,
scoring goals, and
he's also got that.
He missed last Sunday.
Yeah, we could have done with him, couldn't we? When I watch him play, Tony, you got that thing about strikers that it's almost as if they need a bit of arrogance to be really successful at the top level. And I guess that confidence only comes with goals in a way. But you watch him play now, and you see, and he's absolutely prepared to take anybody on at any time. He's really, how important is that as a striker? Is it more important to have that, as I say, that arrogance, slight arrogance and confidence, more so than, say, perhaps a centre half or a full back?
I think you've always got to believe that you're going to score.
Yeah, self-belief.
If you go into a game, you get that self-belief. I don't think you could go into a game thinking, I ain't scored for 3 games, I'm struggling. You think you've got to go into every game thinking you're going to score. And I did a year's consultancy work with EA Sports, which are the electronic animation for the FIFA games. And I had to do some interviews with some top players, and we did some demos. And I did a couple of interviews with Wayne Rooney.
Yeah,
and he was at Man United. He's top striker. And I said to him, what makes a good striker? And he said to me, stay calm in the box. And I thought about that, and I thought, he's right. Just stay calm. Don't panic. The ball's coming. Don't panic. Just stay calm. And in the ball's at your feet, don't lash it. Don't be in a hurry.
Yeah.
Do it sharply. Do it quickly. But he said, stay. That's all he said. Stay calm.
Yeah.
He said, invariably, you'll hit the target. And I thought that was poignant. But I think you've got to have that self-belief.
Yeah.
Staying calm in fraught, tight situations. When defenders are floundering and they're throwing bodies all over the place, if you stay calm, you might be able to pick the corners out. But
I suppose it all comes back to what we were saying about confidence, doesn't it, Tony? If you haven't scored for 3 or 4 games, I guess you might sort of snatch at your chances and stuff like that, make the wrong decision. And I guess when everything's falling your way, as it is for Mickey at the moment, that comes a bit more naturally, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think, you do things more naturally when you're calm, when you're confident. You just do it naturally. If you think about it too much, you go, I better get my foot this right. I've got to get my body. If you start doing that, you're going to fluff it.
Thinking too much
thinking too much about it. It's got to come natural to you. And just having that confidence, that calmness, obviously play with urgency. You're not laid back and relaxed, but you are playing with urgency. You're playing with tempo and pace. But in those real moments, confidence and calmness, will set you in great stead.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me, you were saying there about how it was almost an accident that he came into this position. And I guess it sort of reminded me of a young man we had once who came down from Scotland, a young man named Francis McAvenny. I think Paul Goddard was the player who got injured, wasn't he? And Frank was, you would have been around the club at the time, right? In 85. Frank was a midfielder, wasn't he, originally? And
that's right. Played right hand side or midfield, Yeah, he was going to sign for Luton.
Yeah.
And then we jumped in and signed him.
Yeah.
And one of those John's, I think he signed Mark Ward at the same. One of two of John's greatest signings, to be honest.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Was Frank and Wardy.
And Frank certainly wasn't shy, was he? He certainly was a confident lad, wasn't
he? No, he didn't lack. He wasn't shy. No, he didn't mess around.
No, he knew where the goal was as well. Fantastic player. Just moving on. We've spoken about Moyes and some of the players, but
I'll just tell a quick aside about Frank.
Please do.
Very quickly. Because in John's day, we all used to intermingle with youth team, with the first team, with training, and I was in a session with Frank.
Yeah.
And ball came to me, and I mucked it up, and I went, "Oh shit!" And he went, "Tony," he said, "you never lose what you never had." I thought, "Well, thanks, Frank."
Put you in your place then, firmly on that.
He put me right in my place. I had to laugh, but that was typical Frank. He laughed, it was only a joke. But
he's a lovely guy.
Lovely guy. Never had, he said.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
It's nice to see him still involved. Of course, he's at the club quite frequently and pops up at fan events. So it's nice to see him involved, and the fans, of course, love him.
Yeah.
But, coming back to this team now, Tony. We're saying about how well drilled Moyes has got them. Where does this current side? You've been at the club, as we know, since the 60s as a player. You've been coaching since the early 70s. 73, I think it was. You took over as Academy head honcho until sort of 2016. But you've seen a lot of players come and go at West Ham. Where does this current team rank in terms of what you've seen? And let's be honest, you've seen the very best, right? You've seen the Jeff Hurst, the Bobby Moores, and Ronnie Boyce's, all those players. Trevor Brookings, Devonshire's.
Obviously, the team are playing like in a different era than those other teams.
Yeah.
So you can never really compare team for team. Player for player, I think in the 80s, late 70s, 80s, I think there were better players. I must be honest. The Brookings, Bonds, Devonshire's, even going for as Cotties and the McAvenny's that we spoke about. I think there was better players, but as a team, I think this compares with some of our better teams. Because even in Bobby's team, Moro's team, we were forever in the bottom half of the table, fighting relegations and scraping out. Decent cup side, but we was never our league form away from home. We had a reputation of being a soft touch, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think this team has got more resilience about it. And I think this compares with, I wouldn't say the 85-86 team that finished third. Could we finish third? It's a tall order, but it's a big tall order. But is it possible? I think we've got to add a couple of better quality players, if I must be honest. But I think we can emulate and reproduce last year and finish 6th again.
Yeah,
I think that should be the target. I'm sure it is the target.
So even with, I mean, you know, we see a lot of clubs that are playing in the Europa League the following season because of the sheer number of games they're playing and the fact that we're not all Manchester United and have got 3 squads we can put out on any particular game. You still think West Ham will be able to cope with that okay this year?
That's my hope.
Okay.
That there may be reservations in terms of when the games start to come really thick and fast.
Yeah.
I really want us to have a run in the UEFA Cup. Yeah. Now, I walked out the stadium Sunday, Man United game. I was walking with all the punters.
Yeah.
And I was hearing them say, I wish we didn't have Europa League. You know, the Europa League took its toll. You know, we was a little bit tired today. So they're even after one game, one Europa game, there are fans that are saying, I wish we weren't in the Europa League.
Is that an excuse, though? Was there something?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's frustration more than anything else, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's how quickly the fans would, you know, turn against certain situations. So I hope that doesn't affect us. And I hope we get a decent run in the Premier League. I hope Premier League in the Europa League. Yeah. But I think the be-all and end-all, though, is your league form. I think the number one priority should be the league form, Premier League priority. And then doing our best shot, giving our best shot in the Europa and FA and League Cup. We beat Man United in the League Cup, so we're in the next round. Man City,
nice draw.
Maybe won't play their best 11. There'll still be a decent team. Don't worry. Yeah, there'll still be a decent team.
Yeah, they played a load of kids at the back, didn't they, the other night? They played the De Bruyne's and played people like that in midfield, but the defence seemed to be very, very inexperienced. Yeah,
so whether they would at West Ham, I don't know. So, you know, who knows how far we can go? And the old cliche is, let's beat Leeds Saturday or get something at Leeds Saturday and go on to what? Good night Vienna next week, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, are you going to go to the game? Will you be at the Europa League ties?
I'm going to go to the Vienna game. My brother-in-law is he's got a ticket and said, "You fancy coming?" So I said, "Oh yeah, I'll come and have a look at a European game." Yeah,
yeah.
So I'll be there.
Do the club not sort you out, Tony? Do they not give you sort of freebies no more?
No. Terrible. In the 5 years since I've left, I've never been offered a ticket.
Goodness gracious. When you,
I suppose if I rung up and asked someone, I wouldn't know who to ring up. But if I rung up and asked someone, I suppose I probably could get. I don't know. Maybe they would get me a ticket. I don't know. But
well, if
they've never offered up, it don't matter. It don't matter.
No,
life goes on.
To be fair, I mean, I think that the club seems to have been a lot better at looking after her. I mean, we all know what happened with Bobby Moore, you know, under the previous administration. But we saw what the club did for Billy Bonds a couple of years ago when they gave the stand. And I know it really, you know, he was really pleased by that. But if anyone from West Ham is watching over there, this man's a legend. Make sure he gets sorted out. Not just a ticket, but give him a bloody box of his own. Come on, sort it out. No, to be fair, they have been pretty good. So I'm guessing they probably just have not realised that you're going. Maybe
we have to emphasise that I'm not complaining about it.
No,
you ask me a question and I'll give you an honest answer.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah. I get that, but you know, come on, West Ham, sort it out. How far can we go in Europe, Tony? Could we win it this year? I mean, you know, it seems unbelievable, but
why not? Do it. Why not? You've got to believe. If you don't believe, you know, why play the next game? You've got to believe. You know, we've had a great result in the last round at Bucharest. Rapid Vienna. I think the very least we should get out of the group. Yeah. And then we go into knockout, I believe. Do we? I think is it another group? I'm not sure the rules.
No, I think it's straight knockout, isn't it? I think the winners of the group go straight through to the next round, and then if you finish second, you play one of the teams that finished third in the Champions League group. So that's right. That's a bit of a lottery, isn't it? You don't know who you're up against. Yeah. So I guess ideally we want to make sure that we win the group and go straight into the next round.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? I think the only problem with the Europa League, there are so many rounds. Yeah. You know, it's not. You know, it's. I'm not. 16 games, I believe I've read somewhere, or it might even be more than that. But there's a lot of games. You know, home and away each time you play. Yeah. That might take its toll January, February, or before even, it might take its toll.
Yeah.
But you know, we're on the up. The Hammers are on the up. So let's believe that we could progress. You know, stay competitive in the Premier League and keep marching on one game at a time in the cup competitions. Yeah, that'll be my hope and my dream for this year.
Yeah, good times, Tony. It's good to see after a lot of years of misery, and as you all know better than anybody, you know, we've sort of got our hopes up over the years as fans and seen some fantastic youngsters come through, only to see them bugger off to, well, Chelsea normally, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
When it was your time, but we shall see anyway. Hopefully, you know, it'll we can keep that squad together and we can go into great things. It's about time, you know, 40 years or whatever it is since we last won a major trophy. Just want to wrap up really just by talking about what you've been doing. I mean, I know you touched on. Tell us a bit more about the EA thing. So you've been working on FIFA, you were saying, and you said you interviewed some of the players. What was the role there?
Well, basically, it was a 1-year contract I had with them, and they this was while I was working at West Ham, and it was like one afternoon I'd go to a club. Yeah. If there was an afternoon free, it would be. They would give me the date, and I'd say no, I can't make that date because I'm working. Yep. Or there might be a date where I've got a day off, and I would go to Man City's training ground and interview Vincent Kompany, which I did. Okay. I went to Manchester twice and interviewed and did a couple of sessions with Wayne Rooney. Yeah. And it was, and all it basically was, the EA Sports were because of their animation, we had to recreate certain goals that these players had scored or certain defensive situations. Right. So with Wayne that day, we were trying to create the goal he scored with that scissor kick. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
I can't remember. Was it against Manchester City or was it against? I can't remember. It was against now.
No, I know the goal. So, I can't remember either who it was. Yeah, but yeah, fantastic effort.
Unbelievable goal. And we had to try and recreate that so they could film it. Yeah. And then animate it for their
for the game.
For the game.
So do you ever play FIFA? Do you know, have you ever got hold of the joystick or whatever and had the gamepad these days, isn't it? And had a little game?
No, my son and my sons do. They play it still, even though they're a bit older. And my grandson plays it a little bit. Yeah. But no, I don't play.
Never fancy getting yourself in there.
It was quite ad hoc.
Right.
And it was only about 6 times throughout the whole season I did it. Yeah. And various clubs and didn't interfere with what I was doing because it was either one evening or when I had a day off.
All right. That sounds really interesting. So what were you? You were kind of coaching the players to do the moves, or what? You know, you say they were like the Phoenix for the Flames thing that they used to do on Badil and Skinner all those years ago, where they recreated the goals.
I suppose it was something similar to that.
Yeah.
But we would. Wayne would join in with a group of schoolboys. We'd invariably end up at a school somewhere, right? And we'd do a little 30-minute session with the schools. So I'd put the session on, and Wayne would just join in with a session and do the session with the schoolboys.
Amazing.
So that was part of his promotion for EA Sports because he was contracted to them,
right?
And I was there as the coach just to speak to him and try and recreate the wonder goal and it was about an hour or so one afternoon in Manchester.
Right, and
but a good experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you ever do any West Ham players while there? Was any West Ham goals recreated from that era?
No, I wasn't asked. No, I wasn't asked.
We didn't score enough, did we? No. I'm trying to think of many we could have. Maybe the Andy Carroll bicycle kick would have been a good one to do. But...
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that would have been a great goal. That was.
Yeah, it was fantastic, wasn't it? But I mean, more recently, I mean, you've stepped down from working on a day-to-day basis, but you're still involved in the game. Tell everyone what you're doing these days. You've been doing a bit with the Premier League more recently.
Yeah, I do bits here and there. And for the last couple of years, I've been, last 3 years, I've been working as a coaching consultant and advisor for the Premier League on their courses for coaches, because they run courses for academy coaches at all the clubs throughout the country. Mm-hmm. And the Premier League fund it. So I go on these courses. There may be 2-day events or 1-day events,
right,
up and down around the country, and we have groups of clubs, maybe 20 clubs at a time, send all their coaches in, and the Premier League put on workshops for to improve their themselves as coaches, because the heads of coaching coach their coaches, not their players.
Right. Yeah.
So it's about how you coach your coaches.
Oh, I see. So what's that? Best practice, or do you do specifics like certain drills, stuff like that?
So how to talk to people, how to mentor people, learn about, try and dig a little bit deeper into their mentality in terms of, what their ambitions are, where do they see themselves in 2 or 3 years, and then just try and help them on that journey. Yeah. You're not telling them what to do. You're just trying to guide them, and they use my experience, and Kenny Swain's on it with me as well. Yeah. Used to play for Villa, Everton and Chelsea. Kenny's a good guy. And, we just use that when we were coaching. This is how we would have approached it. This is how I would have spoke to the coaches when I was working at the West Ham Academy. Mm-hmm. You've got to be subtle about it. These guys, some of them part-time, they've got full-time jobs. So you've got to understand that. And so it's just about learning about your coaches. Yeah. Before you can help them, find out about them, try to help them, learn about, the mental side of things, what motivates people, etc., etc. So a lot of it is like deep thinking stuff rather than stuff that goes out on the grass. Yeah. And so we just assist in that. We don't always deliver the sessions in terms of the workshops, but we assist in the after session debates. Right. And that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds fascinating. But I mean, in terms of getting out on the grass, Tony, I mean, this is obviously what you're best known for. I'm guessing this is still your first love, right? Actually coaching players and getting out on the turf and making people better players. Do you still get the opportunity to do that?
No, I don't do that as much now. I mean, I don't do it at all for the last couple of years, really. Right.
Do you miss it?
I miss it in some respects. I mean, I do miss it. Yeah. But none of us are getting any younger. So I wouldn't want to be doing it every day on a full-time basis. Let's put it that way. I think I've had my time doing that, but the odd session here and there, I do. I've been invited to various clubs up and down the country to give talks to their academy coaches. Yesterday, I was at Arsenal. I was at the Arsenal Academy in Hale End and delivering a presentation to their coaches. I'd been to Tottenham and I'd been to Aston Villa and I'd had a Zoom with Sheffield United. Yeah. So various clubs up and down the country have asked me to assist with their development of their coaches, and now I'm happy to oblige. So I've been doing stuff like that, and I've FA run courses for coaches, and I've done presentations for the FA up at St George's Park on a number of occasions. So I'm still doing bits and bobs, still doing bits and pieces,
still keeping involved. But, it's good to hear.
I still get me free time.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's the important thing, isn't it? But it's nice to know that you're still involved, because someone as experienced as you, it's, we talked about Bobby Moore, and of course, we've seen not just at West Ham, but players and coaches all over the country that sort of go out of the game, and you just think, what a waste that is, losing all that experience. So it's nice to hear that people like you and Kenny as well are being able to pass on that knowledge to the new generations, I suppose. So long may that continue, I guess. But I think that's about it, Tony. I mean, I really appreciate your time. I know we've gone on a little bit longer, as always, than we said, but it's just to be honest with you, I can sit here. Oh well, I could listen to you all day, and talk about coaching. It's lovely to get the opportunity, and a real honour to get the chance to sit down and talk to you. And hopefully we can do it again at some point in the future. And who knows, we could be cheering, talking about a West Ham team that's actually won a trophy for a change next time.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Wouldn't it? Tony Carr, thank you for your time. And we'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Graham.
Cheers, Tony.
Cheers.
Right, so we're here in the offices of a Late Late Show with the host of a Late Late Show, James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm regularly on the general discussion page. There's always someone who's got some information, so I love it. Yeah. It's great. Yes, it's excitement surrounded by imminent disappointment. That's what it mostly is.
Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.